Sinai, Hecharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Sinai, Hecharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri, Me'im Adonai, Osei, Shemayim v'aretz, Ezri, Me'im Adonai, Osei, Shemayim v'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains, and what is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, God is your guardian at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Amen. There is I guess now, somewhat familiar midrash that has been used not only in Jewish services, but I think across faiths at funerals. A story of two men standing on a shore, in the Jewish version they're rabbis, watching a ship preparing to set sail for a voyage around the world. And bands are playing and people are cheering and celebrating for the voyage that is about to unfold, even though they don't know what is to come along the journey. And in this midrash, at the same time, there is another ship returning from probably an identical cruise, slipping into the other end of the harbor. And there are no bands playing and no people celebrating or cheering. It just quietly comes to port. And in the midrash, the rabbis observe that this is not how it should be in life, though often it is. We celebrate birthdays, but not the end of the journey. But in life, we should celebrate the end of the journey. In Jewish tradition, we should acknowledge all that has happened and transpired to come about and to come to fruition over the course of a person's life. Howard was sick for a long time, and so much of what we could have celebrated with him was hidden away in his inability to verbally communicate. But the journey of his life was rich and it was full. It was made more full and more rich by all of you. You, his family, his friends, his students. How many of you were a student of Howard Robbins? In so many ways, he taught even those that were not in his classroom, and that was the journey of his life. It was long in years, it really was, though we wish and pray that it had been longer. But it was so rich and deep in meaning that today, as we acknowledge the ship coming into harbor, the end of that voyage, in the midst and intermingled with our sadness, I think we need to celebrate. We need to thank God for the blessing that was Howard and his unique perspective and voice and take on the world, and how richly that added to our own journey in life. Death is as much a part of life as birth. There's no doubt that we don't celebrate this moment, but we, I hope, feel some sense of wholeness, some sense of completion. Knowing the pain that he was in and the imprisonment of his physical body over these years, that in some ways he is released from that suffering, but not released from our thoughts or our memories. That we will hold always, and we will hold him dear. This teacher will continue to teach us for generations to come. I had a teacher in seminary and rabbinical school, Rabbi Alvin Fine. He wrote a poem that in part because it really doesn't mention God, I think Howard would like it very much. But also because it speaks to that notion of life being a journey. He wrote, "Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back, we pray, to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting." Rabbi Abraham Torski, who is a scholar of Jewish thought and also the practicality of living Jewish life, often in the midst of emotional distress, was once asked by one of his students who was struggling with addiction, "What's the purpose of life?" And Torski's answer has become, to some extent, the Torah of the Jewish people. Torski responded that the purpose of life is to grow a little bit every day. I think in many ways that was the purpose of Howard's life as well. To grow in knowledge, to grow in compassion, to grow in understanding, to grow even in frustration at the injustices of the world, to not sit idly by. And he inspired that in his students as well. It's the meaning of the poem that Rabbi Fine wrote, that the whole point of the journey is to grow. Not the destination, but just to grow along the way. I think he taught us that too. Jewish tradition teaches that we should turn to the Psalms, to the Tehillim, the writings that are attributed to King David, to find in those ancient words, which were David's diary or journal entries, words of comfort and consolation for our present circumstance. It's kind of amazing when you think about it that words written thousands of years ago by a mortal king could speak to us in our modern world. There are two psalms that I want to share before we turn to the family and have their stories and their memories of Howard. One is Psalm 15. And I thought about it the moment that we sat down to talk about your dad, your husband, your brother, your grandfather. In it, King David asked this question, a question that we all wonder about, which is at the end of our life, who measures and merits reward? Who, if you believe in heaven, gets to go to heaven? Or who, if you believe in memory, and I think we all believe in memory, gets remembered for good, for blessing, as we say. So David asks or writes, Adonai mi yagur ba'ochalecha, mi yishkan b'char kodshecha. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell on your holy mountain? And then listen to his answer. Listen to how he describes someone meriting such a reward. Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts. I would add in Howard's case, who speak it out their mouths as well. He had no filter. Who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them. Who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God. Who give their word and come what may, do not retract it. Who do not exploit others. Who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken, shall dwell b'char kodshecha, on God's holy mountain. Ultimately, David is describing the qualities of a mensch, And I think he's describing the qualities of Howard as well. In another psalm we read, Adonai, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you have been there. You return us to dust and decree that we are mortal. For in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when has passed as a watch in the night. You engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew, and at dusk it withers and dries up. The span of our life is 80 years and 10, or given strength, 80 years. But the best of those years have trouble and sorrow. They pass by speedily, and we are in darkness. Teach us, therefore, so to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Turn to us, O God. Show mercy to your servants. Satisfy us at daybreak with your steadfast love, that we may sing for joy all of our days. Let your deeds be seen by your servants, and your glory by their children. May your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. You are the work of Howard's hands. Through his teaching, both in the classroom and outside of it, through family gatherings and his advocacy work, through his Zionism and his passion for Israel, all of its peoples, and how you joined him in that fight or were led towards those values because of his teaching and his example. You are the work of his hands. And so when we say in Jewish tradition that when a person dies, that they should be remembered for blessing, you are the blessing of Howard's memory, because you endure. A man has died, but his teaching, his song, it lives on in each of you, and most particularly in his children, his grandchildren, his sister, his beloved Annalise. And so let's celebrate his life. Let's draw lessons again from our teacher. Let's find something this afternoon that we can take with us from this place, some lasting thing that will help us grow just a little bit more today because of him. And so, very bravely, his children and Annalise want to share some memories. And we invite Melody to begin.
Who is Howard Robbins? He was Howard, Mr. Robens, Shimon, Abba, a big brother, Uncle Howard, Grandpa, Schnucky my Fritz. He was larger than life. He was a mensch. He was my daddy. We loved him. And as much as we loved him, he loved us. He inspired us with his energy, his smile, his zest for life, his passion, his devotion to family and to justice. What kind of man fosters the love, devotion, and admiration that my dad had? A man who inspired his son to visit him and therapy him and play with him every day for years, and multiple times a week for the past few years. A man who inspired literally thousands of students to be curious, to thrive for and love learning, to be better people. A man who earned the devotion and love of his wife to come and visit him and feed him twice a day for 14 years. A man who progenied this Jewish family who loved him so dearly. A mensch, my daddy. When Howard and I were at the same school for 1 year, because he threatened to move me to Eric Hamber to keep an eye on me if I didn't smarten up, and I didn't smarten up. Everyone said to me, "You're so lucky to have Mr. Robens as your father. He must be the best father in the world." At 15, I didn't think so. But over the next few years, and ever since then, I learned the wisdom of my peers. He was the best father in the world. Some of my big memories. He would schmoozle me to sleep every night. It probably wasn't every night, but in my memory it was. That consisted of sticking his unshaven face on my neck and essentially slobbering all over me while he tickled me until I screamed I was going to pee. My dad knew the importance of consistent bedtime routines long before there were parenting books to tell us that. I remember one night in a very cold river in New Jersey, searching for petrified shark's teeth with my dad and his friend Joe Kupcha. We had rain boots on and these screens where we would search through the rocks to find shark's teeth left from a long ago ocean bed. I'm pretty sure that he dropped a few right in my area just to make sure I could find one or two. All those crazy pets that came home from the classroom over summer holidays, snakes, rats, tarantulas. My embarrassment and a little bit of pride in the racy cover of his novel that he wrote with our beloved Jack Wasserman's Zichron Livracha, Hambro's Itch, a murder mystery based in Vancouver about an international plot to spread a virus in order to address the world's overpopulation. Another one of my dad's issues that he tackled. I remember him sleeping on the floor in my hospital room when Sammy was born so that Yoel could sleep. I remember him as the tzandak at Ezra's bris. I remember the joy on his face when Dave wheeled him from the Louis Breyer to Women's Hospital to meet his brand new twin granddaughters. Holding his hand and crying together without even saying words, just knowing what we were feeling, especially last year at Ezra's bar mitzvah. That look of joy and surprise whenever I walked into his room. Rabbi Dan asked us what Howard taught us. Even for those who were his classroom students, he taught us all so much more than science. He taught us acceptance, justice, honesty, standing up for what you believe in. Everyone is equal. Everyone is valuable. It was never about the trend. It was about doing what was right, about living your life based on values. Family, community, justice, equality, and love. You might see some of us wearing turtle pins or other jewelry from Howard's turtle collection. He felt, and his business card said, in order to get ahead, you have to stick out your neck a little. And stick it out he did. From asking my mom, a girl totally out of his league, to marry him on the second date, and every date after that, until she said yes almost a year later. To fighting for his fellow teachers as the BCTF ombudsman, to marching in peace marches and for all his causes, including many individuals, people he fought for to ensure they had the opportunities of dignity and love that he had. It's hard to be in this sacred moment with my dad as the world outside is so volatile and so wrong. We know that if it was Howard 20 years ago, he would bang his fist on the dining room table or the desk of his classroom so that everything on it would jump off an inch. And he'd probably yell an expletive. And if it was the night before he passed, he would shake his fist at the world. Don't worry, Dad. We will keep working on to fix our world. My dad and I had our rough years because we were so much alike, I think. But the joy we brought each other as I became an adult, it was like being a little girl again. He loved me. He appreciated me, and he was proud of me. And I'm sure that there are many people in this room who can say the same thing. We knew this time would come. It's a wonder that it isn't any easier. But if we could change things, what would we change? Stroke for sure. We think what could have been about for the past 14 years. But it isn't about that. Yes, our lives would have been so different. But it is about what it was. And it was about love. Thank you, Grandpa, for my life. For giving me all the tools to live my life. For making me who I am. For the absolute joy of watching you play with my children. A mensch, my daddy.
Dave?
Verbose guy, and like my father before me, will take every opportunity to try and get some lessons across. This is a bit too high for me. Hi. First off, I would like to ask you all a favor. Can all who felt like Howard played a role in their development as a human being please stand for a moment to honor his contribution to this community, to society, and to humanity? Thank you. For those of you who know me, I can be a bit verbose, and this will be no different. I had the privilege and honor of being incredibly close with my father, and therefore have a lot to say. Plus, as you may guess, this is an emotional time for me, and I am not shy about expressing my emotion, in part as an attempt to evolve humanity, so this may take a little longer. I will move forward with the assumption that you will accept me and celebrate me for who I am, as my father almost always did. You need to stick your neck out to get ahead. Without the ability to speak or to walk on his own, my father became quite dependent. He always presented as a pillar of strength in his own unique and unconventional way, and post-stroke would be no different. We took a non-traditional approach to masculine strength together. The strength to witness the pain and suffering of those who you love and support them no matter what. The strength to overcome social constructs and allow care to manifest in whatever form it takes. The strength to live the frustration, pain, and sadness and still be humble in the face of adversity. The strength to love unconditionally. The strength to persevere no matter what. And that is what my dad did. Persevere. Always. Escaping Germany as the anti-Jewish sentiment grew, surviving displacement, poverty, massive cultural change, imprisonment, oppression, and losing relatives back in Germany during his 10 years in British-ruled Palestine. Dropping out of school to support the family, and then another transition to the United States, where life started to pick up for him a little bit. As the only Hebrew speaker, he, ironically, became the Rabbi of Bermuda during his time in the United States Air Force. He danced in clubs where Louis Armstrong would play live. Louis even nicknamed him Gate because he could swing like a gate in the wind. He chose to sit with the blacks, his friends, at the back of the bus when that was their only option. And he met my mother. On the second date, he asked her to marry him. He knew what he wanted. But it wasn't until a jillion proposals that she had said yes. He persevered, and I'm thankful for it. As a boy and a teen, we went back and forth between incredibly fun play and a typical alpha male struggle. The beauty of our struggles were that they always ended in greater acceptance of each other and better learning how to get along. I respect him now for things that I did not understand back then. His comfort and pride of living outside the mold. He was different, eccentric, and would behave in ways that some might call downright crazy. Opening up all of his children's eyes to a different reality. One of profane language toward other drivers, one of not wearing a shirt to the supper table, one of connecting with kids on their level, one of feeling free in your own skin, one of chasing and wrestling and being on the floor, and one of opening the front door in your tighty whities. My father had a powerful skill of opening people's eyes to the celebration of variety, taking interest in everyone, and creating connection, and the ultimate comfort of oneself. Well, Abba, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You were a father to all who walked through your front door. My father was a teacher, by profession, but also just by being himself. I was always impressed by his response when people asked him who he taught. The expected answer was grade 8 or 10 or whatever. But my father would respond, people. My father taught high school. And please, correct me if I'm wrong. But isn't that all we really want as high school students? To be seen as people? To be seen for who we truly are? And to be accepted and celebrated for such? Isn't that all we really still want? Not even halfway, guys. My father was a dedicated man, dedicated to his family, dedicated to his ideology, dedicated to his work, dedicated to his volunteer commitments like Camp Miriam, dedicated to students, dedicated to social justice, individual rights, and equality. And although this was apparent in all his daily actions, what was even more obvious was his dedication to his wife. He supported her to be exactly who she wanted to be. Is there any greater gift than that? May we all take this lesson forward, supporting our friends and partners to be exactly who they want to be. My father was an incredibly social man, and when he could not be around people, the TV would keep him company. My interpretation of this was a connection to television, one of which I could not relate. But as I write this, I am choosing to believe that sitting by the TV was so that he had something to do while he stayed at home to support his wife with her endeavors and catch a glimpse of his true love whenever possible. On the day of his strokes, he had two, I returned to my home to a phone message from a nurse stating, "Your father is in the emergency and wants to make sure somebody picks your mother up from work." She was the nourishment of his soul. My mom, not the nurse. Despite Howard's challenges to verbally express his love, I always had an underlying sense that he loved me. His love was expressed through rough and tumble play and summer camping trips with lots of one-on-one time. He would commonly say to me, "I don't worry about you, you'll be okay." It was the best he could do to express his love with the tools he had. He would share with me the story of one time his father told him he loved him. Almost. My grandfather lived on the other side of the continent, so he and I did not speak often. But I, like my father before me, have this way of connecting with people that is pretty special. During a telephone call from my family to my grandparents, I said to my opa, "Ich liebe dich, opa." I love you, Grandpa. His response was, "Ich liebe dich auch, David." Then there was a short pause. "Oh, and you too, Howard." I often think about the one time my father told me that he loved me. I was 25 and traveling in Asia. He and my mom came to visit me in Bali, and we spent a couple of wonderful weeks together. How could we not? It was Bali. At the end of our time together, and several months before I would return home, I hopped on a bus to depart for another island. As the bus was driving away, my father ran up to catch it, wrapped his fingers on the window, and I was able to read his lips. "I love you." Likely an incredible freeing moment for us both. But somehow I knew he loved me all the way through. He had a certain je ne sais quoi that let everybody know how much he cared about them. Despite growing up in a household where love was expressed through guilt and discipline, Howard pushed evolution and learned to deliver love in his own way. May this be another of Howard's lessons to us, to evolve the expression of love in a way that is free of the barriers of our foreparents. During the last 14 years, he and I shared love in exactly that way. My father continued to be himself after his stroke. When I would walk in the door of his room at the Louis Brier, I would always ask him, "Fun or no fun, Pop?" And he would always choose fun. One of my favorite post-stroke stories of my dad is when we went out for supper for our combined birthdays. At the end of the meal, the server brought out cupcakes with candles. My father blew out his candle, and then he lifted his paralyzed arm and looked at it, and then looked at us like, "Oh, it's a miracle, my arm works!" And then he let it go and dropped it. his birthday wish. We all shared great laughter in that moment. He could dig deep and bring the best humor, even with the underlying pain. We're getting close now, guys. I wish I could have been next to him as he passed away, but I take solace in knowing that I was next to him through joy and pain, through celebration and terror, along the road less traveled, while he lived. I love you, Abba. Thank you for all you've done for me, for our family, for my peeps, and for humanity. Thank you for all you have taught me and all that I now have and can share with others as a result of your teachings. Your ripples will travel far. I wish you all you deserve as you move into the next chapter, despite what you believe. Thank you all for all you have given to and received from me, my family, my mother, and my father. May we all go forth in life glowing with gratitude, as it is the secret to a fulfilling life. These words would not be complete without thanks to all at the Louis Brier who cared for my father for nearly 14 years. Words cannot express my gratitude to all who cared for the man who was so important to me. I know that caring for him always provided you with return, as this is the man Howard was. But I will be forever grateful for your contributions to his life. Last paragraph. For all those who still have a father who resides on this earth, please take advantage of every moment. Hug your dad, even if it's difficult. Look past relational bullshit with all in your life. Come together. Know what is truly important. Honor Howard by expressing all he truly wanted for all of us in this world. Love and freedom to be ourselves. Thank you.
Annalise.
A little bit of height. I want to thank both my children for their wonderful words. And I wasn't going to cry, but I may have to cry because of what they've said. So I will start, and we will see whether I can manage it. While looking for pictures of Howard for our son David, I came across a little plaque I had bought at Granville Island about a year or two ago. It reads, "In the midst of our lives, we must find the magic that makes our souls soar." SOAR. Howard was that magic for me from our first date on. I came home and danced around my parents' house because I had had such a good time. On our second date, as you already have been told, he proposed to me. It was his birthday, and it took me almost a year to finally say yes. In fact, he was so used to my little giggle to put him off that he went right on talking past the yes. And then suddenly realized what I'd said and promptly ran into my parents' house and woke them up to tell them the news. In his files, I found many cards and letters from me to him, and I want to share just 2 of them with you. This was a Valentine's Day card that I sent him, and there's no date on it, so I don't remember when it happened. But it says, "A Valentine to the man who makes my life complete, the fellow who still warms my heart and my cold, cold feet." And then a Flavia art card, which reads on the cover, "You come into my everyday world and make my paper star dreams come true." And inside there's a letter, a Valentine's letter, to Howard, dated February 14th, 1995. Dear Howard, happy Valentine's Day. I've been writing this letter to you in my head for a couple of weeks now, so I thought that I'd just put it on paper today. I love and appreciate you. I still feel that I married my Noel Airman, and those of you who know Marjorie Morningstar will know who that is. The rest of you can ask us later. I still feel that I married my Noel Airman, that I never had to give up the dream. I love my Don Quixote, too, that man of principle who keeps fighting the good fight because he believes it is the right thing to do. I feel really happy with my life with you. I feel cherished, supported, loved, even if you don't know what love is, because that's what he always said. I don't know what love is. I feel protected and taken care of without any sense of a hidden message that I can't take care of myself. If I say all this to you in person, you'll shuffle with embarrassment. So instead, I am writing you a love letter. So here it is. I love you. I cherish you. I am happy I married you. And after 36 and a half years, it's still fun. I'm aiming for doubling that time. How about you? Love, hugs, and kisses. Annalise M. Robens, happy to be Howard's wife. That never changed, and now I have to find the magic that makes my own soul soar without him. So, Howard, I share with everyone here our nightly ritual. 1 to 3 kisses, and my stroking his cheek, the one where he could feel, the other one, the stroke had taken the feeling away. Schlaf gut, träum süß. Have a good night, and don't run away with any pretty girls. And those lines he would mouth along with me. I could see his lips moving, and then give me his promise. I shall miss him all the days of my life and hold on to the magic that makes our souls soar. A quote from George Sand, "There is only one happiness in life, to love and be loved." Howard has left me with that legacy in our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
So I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. So please don't take my sunshine away. I'll always love you and make you happy. If you would only say the same. But if you leave me to love another, you'll regret it all one day. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. So please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away.
You all spoke so beautifully, and you also said everything I had planned to say. So I'm going to set all that aside. But I want to make one observation. As much as we've spoken about Howard's atheism, agnosticism, atheist tendencies, he loved Jewish holidays, he loved Shabbat, he loved Israel and Jewish song. If he came to synagogue, he would sing along for sure, even if he didn't believe, and that's not unusual in any way. He had a favorite holiday, which was Hanukkah. And just yesterday, day before, I guess Thursday, Friday, we celebrated Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the month that contains within it the holiday of Hanukkah. Howard knew every verse to Ma'ot Tzur, probably verses that the person who wrote Ma'ot Tzur didn't know were part of Ma'ot Tzur. And as his family shared with me that connection to Hanukkah and knowing that he died on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, or quite near it, thought a bit about the symbolism there and this man. Hanukkah Kislev occurs in the darkest month of the year, and so it's fitting then that we celebrate the festival of lights to bring light into a dark time. And in so many ways, Howard brought a spark of light, of wisdom, of insight, of compassion, of justice to the darkest reaches of the world and society, and even into students' minds. And so if I could give you an image to take with you of this man, it would be of the Hanukkah, and we have one over there, of that candlestick in the middle of the Shamus candle that lights all of the other candles but loses none of its own light. Because that's what Howard did. He shared his light with others. It didn't diminish him in doing that. As we've heard today, it made him shine brighter. And I think that if he were to offer a prayer, though might he call it a hope or a challenge, it would be that we become a Shamash candle as well. that we take the spark of light and insight that he shed upon us, and that we share it with others, because that's really what he was all about in so many ways. Clearly, he did that to his family, his children, his grandchildren, as you heard. He lit within them a love and a passion for all the things that he valued, his family most of all. And he lit that within all of us, his students, as well. May his memory be a blessing. Amen. I'll ask you please to rise now as we chant El Malei Rachamim, God who is full of compassion. I commented to the family that one tradition has it that we chant this psalm or this prayer to guide the soul up to heaven, to let God know who God is getting. And that Jewish tradition teaches that when a person dies, as their soul goes up to heaven, they inform God about how to run the world. They tell God how to manage things down here. I have no doubt that Howard is doing just that and more right now. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Konfecha Shechina, Im Keroshim Utchorim, Kezochar Akiamazkirim, Et Nishmat Shimon ben Zev Esther, Shechala Olamo, Baal Harachamim, Yastirechu, Beseter Kenafav Lolamim, Vaitzror, Bitzror Chachayim et Nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Howard, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. Amen. Please remain standing. If you'll turn, please, to the inside of your handout. As we recite the Cottage Prayer, we acknowledge that this is not a prayer for Howard. This is a prayer for all of us that are left behind, that we might find comfort in our tradition and comfort in those that stand around us. And as we stand with this family, we extend to you not only, we hope, the comfort of our presence, but also we extend to you the knowledge that your husband, your father, your brother, your grandfather will always be a part of us, and we will continue to do the work that he did in this world. And in that way honor his memory and keep that part of him very much alive. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbi, v'yoma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imoru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbi mevarach le'olam ulamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudisha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damin ron be'alma v'maru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us, and we say together, Amen. Please be seated for just a moment. Friends, I draw your attention to the Shiva Minyan schedule that's on the back of your handout. The family will be receiving people back to their home not until the time of the Shiva Minyan, maybe a half an hour before. So please allow them to have the time with each other and their family until 6:30 tonight. The Minyan will begin at 7. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Shiva begins, or Shiva Minyanim begin at 6:30. And that's at the home of Melody and Yoel. I believe in the email that went out, there was also an indication of where to make donations to do tzedakah in Howard's memory. I remember it was the Louis Breyer, Camp Miriam, and I think there was a third, but I don't remember what it was. The Isaac Waldman Library. I'll ask you please also at this time, we're going to allow the family to leave this place so they can return to their home. And then I'll invite you to return to your cars with an awareness if you parked on Oak Street, you should probably move your car soon, as I believe it's time to do that. And so as we escort the family out of this place, we are going to give them a blessing, the traditional words of blessing which are on the back of your handout as well. So I ask you please to rise now.